All right, we are going to take a look at all of your animation clips for this little robo ball. And so what I've got is a folder with all the packages that I found downloaded into them. And I could just drag them in one by one. And it replaces the existing animation clips. So long as you didn't rename anything, it replaces the animation clips. And so far, the ones that I checked were all done correctly. And then I can either bounce it around the screen, or I can just hit play on the animations. We'll probably do a little bit of both. So first one is Kayla, because the alphabet says so. Here we go. And it will give this little warning, by the way, if you ever have to do this, warning the file exists in the project, but with different GUID will override existing asset. If you ever have something with the exact same name, it's going to rewrite it. That's what I want in this case, because now everything should be hooked up properly. When I hit play, we'll get her set of animations versus anyone else's. There we go. You can kind of see it happening. So let's take a look in the animator to see exactly what's going on. So we'll try the idle. Good. Looks like a good looping animation. We start and end at the same spot. Nice and simple. Got beeping happening on the antenna. Fast. Here we go. Okay. And then we've also got hit. So that one looks like it doesn't quite loop properly. I wonder what's happening there. Yeah, so it starts and ends in a different position, and so we may occasionally see a hiccup when we go from the hit to a different animation state, and I think I was detecting that. So here we are idling. Here I'm going to go fast and slow without being hit, and I don't see any hiccups or anything, but when I get hit, let's see. Yeah, when we're done getting hit, I do see a little twitch on the ears because of that inconsistency. So just one little bit, everything else seems fine, and it appears that you use the character without any problems. So very good. Thank you. All right, we've got Yang.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, for some reason, it doesn't give me the warning, but it still works properly. So I don't know why, but I tried it earlier and it worked. So let's take a look. So here is our idle, nice and subdued idle. And if I go faster, he starts to chew his jaw and move his ears a little bit. And if we get hit, we get big old open snapping jaw. Oh, and you included the snapping special effects as well. Very good. All right. We can take a look at the animations up close. Yeah, that makes sense for a still. Something pretty subdued is usually appropriate. Whoa, okay. Let's do fast first. Yep. And then hit. Cool. So the only thing I think I could say is that with the snapping of the jaw, he's going open, close, but he never seems to really snap because it doesn't hold closed. You might want to add just an extra duplicate of this hold position just for a little while so that his jaw remains closed, and that would give it a little bit more impact. So if I hit record here real quick and find his jaw, where is it? Rotation all the way down here. So this key, I'm just going to copy, and I'm going to paste it right here, because he's open again by that point. All right, well, we'll see how it feels. So you go snap and then open. So this position he stays. Snap, paste, snap, paste, snap, paste. So now, just gives it a little bit more impact in that we're watching his jaw stay closed for a minute. Without that pause, it can just seem like it's kind of floating from point to point. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I understand.
We
I have a
also...
question though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
When I was trying to animate the character, the pivot of the whole thing, it was on the center. Is there any way I can move it so I can match it to the one you had in the
Yeah,
Unity?
I think I neglected to cover it. At the very top up here, there's these two words that are actually buttons, global and pivot. This pivot can be center or can be pivot. Center is the center of the object regardless of pivot. So it's like this, right? But pivot means use the pivot that was set on that thing. Now it's hinging from the correct position. I think I neglected to say that that button could be pushed.
Oh yeah, you never imagined something to need to be pushed.
Yeah. This other one, by the way, is about the movement space, local or global. This one doesn't usually have as much of an import, but if I'm using my movement tool, global will move globally in the Y position, and local will move locally in the Y position. So if I rotated it and then tried to move it, now Y is facing this other direction. So we usually leave that one on global. But occasionally you might need to change it. So pivot and global are the two settings. Then there's also grid snapping up here, which just leave it off for the most part.
Okay, thank you.
Cool? Yeah. I was also going to mention down in the animation window, we're using the dope sheet, but we do have a curves editor here, just like in Maya. So if you really want to get picky about something, then we could select an attribute, hit F for frame, and we could change the tangent handles. Although I've found that these tangent handles work slightly differently. You have to change the type by right-clicking and then choosing clamped, auto, free, smooth, flat, broken. And then you can change the left and right tangents or both independently. This is kind of clunky in my opinion, but it does all the same stuff that Maya does. Okay? Very good.
All right.
Thank you. Turn off preview so we're not doing that. All right, Miguel. Let's take a look. Cool. He looks kind of agitated already. And he looks aggressive. He gets his flashing eyes and stuff. Looks like he's just kind of going, ow, when he gets hit. Boom, boom. Very good. Okay. So let's take a look in the animation window. Yep, very good. Nice ear twitch on only half the animation, so it's not monotonous. We've got fast, more aggressive, and a more subdued hit animation, although we've got the flashing lights. Miguel, what was your thought process on that? Uh-oh, I see you lighting up green, but I don't hear you. I still see you lighting up, but can't hear. You might want to disconnect and reconnect once.
All right, one last try.
There you go. You got it.
Okay. Yeah, I think Discord reset my input device is all.
Yeah, it happens. So what was your thought
Anyway.
process on the hit animation?
Yeah, he was just supposed to look like he got like shut down temporarily from the impact.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I had thought about including, along with the snap special effects, I actually had a number of lightning bolt special effects that I almost put in just for the fun of it to see if anybody would use. You probably would have utilized them for that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, great. Any problems or anything?
No, I figured out the pivot thing.
Excellent. Yeah, it is kind of a tricky thing. It occasionally messes with me, although I leave it on pivot like permanently, so usually it doesn't come up for me, but yeah, it's kind of a pain. All right, you guys, there's also these other manipulators. I don't even know what this one does. This fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth one. I don't know what that one does. The fourth one is for scaling from sides, which can be really useful for animation sometimes. It's
I think
just
that might be the canvas one.
this. Move, rotate, scale, object. Oh, it's all three at one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because this multi-manipulator, I think I would typically not use it. I'd rather just switch independently. But yeah, I could see the utility of that sometimes. Okay, all right. Let's take a look at countries. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in here I actually don't want. I don't want the controller.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't want that.
And then for some reason, we've got other things that I can't say no to, hopefully because they're the same. Did you try to export just the whole folder?
Yes.
Okay, so instead of that, what you needed to do is just select the 3 files and then hit right-click Export Package. I think it'll work anyway, though, so let's try it out. I'll tell it to don't import the controller because I'm afraid that might be different. The rest of them I'll allow, and let's just hope that it still works. Holy crap! I think it works. I hope it works.
It is working. Very much so.
Okay,
It
the
is very
spinning
much
freaks
working.
me out, though. So long as it's just the animation doing that, then I guess we're
is.
good. Okay, good. Let's take a look.
Because
Then.
I purposely made, like I said, I put a lot of character into this character. He's like
Yeah, you
a
did.
ball of energy that just can't stop moving, and when he gets hit,
Yeah.
he just goes wild.
Let me make sure. I want to make absolutely sure that this is the thing that's moving and not this, because that would be changing the mechanics, which we don't want to do. So yeah, you got ball sprites position and rotation. I did recommend not moving that, but I think you're moving it in such a way that it doesn't really change the function of the game enough, so it's probably still allowable. The idea here is, though, and I don't know how to, can I select both at once? What I want to show is that while he's doing his animation, this collider's staying still. So he's temporarily looking like he might collide when he won't, which could be a problem, but I think the way you're handling it is fine. Let's look at fast. Cool, yep. And hit. Jeez, okay. That's really, really crazy. You are centering it around this location. You might have to go a little bit less in the translation, but if the character was like invulnerable during that state, it would be fine because you're not going to recollide with something anyway. Yeah, I think it's centered enough. And he comes back to upright at the end, doesn't he?
I'm not quite sure.
That's okay. So that's an important question too.
I mean, yes. In animation-wise, yes.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. So when he gets
Yeah,
hit,
animation-wise, yes, but I
So he
just
starts
noticed in
here.
the game, it doesn't.
well, that's the thing. It's like because of the animation, it's hard for me to tell if he ever resets properly.
Yeah,
But you've
I
got the
make sure it's
keyframe,
reset.
so I think he does reset properly. Maybe I could very carefully try to test it if I just go to the right, like really carefully, and just let it get hit one time and let it stop. Yeah, I think he did reset to upright, and that the ball has just rotated. Actually, I'll pause and then look at the ball. Okay, so the ball is rotated negative 56. So if I do 0, can I change it directly? Yeah, he's upright again. So you can see his collider's over here. Let me unpause, repause, and I think he's still staying. Look in the scene view. Oh, there we go. So here's his collider versus his animation. Yeah, I think he is still upright. So you did it all correctly. It's all resetting properly. Cool. All right, very good. Any questions or problems that you had?
None.
None?
I just really wanted to make a character like
Yeah.
he just does not know how to stand still.
I actually did kind of the same thing when I animated him with the snapping of the head. I had the ball just suddenly go like this with each snap, which changed its position from the collider a little bit, but not really in such a way that it would make it seem like he was going to hit something that he wasn't. So I did kind of do the same thing. All right.
Yeah, I also made it so it's like he's jittery.
Yeah, I like the jittery. Very good. Elias.
Thank you.
There we go. Import that. Test it out. Okay. Ooh, I think maybe Elias ran afoul of the pivot point thing as well, because I'm looking at that jaw, and it looks like it's rotating from a different position. It almost looks like it's hanging loose. So probably it was the pivot point button. Ooh, I saw his jaw disappear there, I think. Oh, and the color of the light turned purple. Huh, that's funny. All right, let's take a look at the animations. So for the idle, okay. Yeah, things almost look like they're coming loose a little bit. So that could be the problem. Let's do fast. Yeah. Okay, so that jaw looks like it's probably rotating from like the center here, where it should actually rotate from its own pivot. So probably that was the case. Let's see. Or maybe, no, that's correct up there. But this should have been located more like back over here. Now I'm struggling, like, where does it fit? I'm wondering if he moved the pivot point, or that would have been reflected in everyone's asset, so I don't think so. So it should be something more like this. I think he had to move it out of place because the rotation was rotating from the center. Yeah, he's moving it to make up for that. So just be careful about that button, Elias. Let's do hit. I think he's making him look like he got crunched or something. And changing the color on the light's cool. The color is getting a little bit separate from the light somehow. I'd watch out for that as well. In the hinge, antenna, the FX glow, it looks like you're moving the position, which you really shouldn't do. Since it is a child of the antenna, it should always be in the correct position. So I don't know why you're moving it, if that was intentional or not. Okay. All right, but overall, it seems to work properly. We'll just try to get remember that pivot point thing. That'll have the same implications for our next project as well, so make sure that you guys all set your button correctly. All right, thank you, Elias. We've got Paul. Very good. Import, test it out. Ooh, chattery. And then he hits, and his ears go crazy, it looks like. Yep, all right. And that looks pretty smooth to me. Cool. All right, let's check out the animations individually. Okay, good. I wonder if, when I set up that jaw, if there was a little bit of translation necessary. Did you guys find when you were opening and closing the jaw that you had to move it when it was open to make it look right?
No.
No? Okay.
No, not for me.
Then maybe it was just the pivot point thing. I just couldn't remember anymore if it was necessary. Nobody used the other replacement sprites, though? I didn't see anybody use the second jaw or the second head. Oh, well. He's clapping his ears together. All right. Very good. Seems good to me. And finally, Andrew. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, that's funny. The ears are like if the motion was directional. So when I went backwards, it looked like his ears were driving him. If I go forward, it looks really good. So here's still, fast. So that's interesting. What we could do is like track. Oh, that would actually be kind of difficult because he rotates. We could track his vector, like his motion vector compared to his orientation, and we could have the ears animate in certain directions based on that. Or we could even like simulate the ears to have like a weight that pulls them around, which would be really cool. Oh, neat. He
I
actually
think just taking his local rotation would be better.
Local rotation, but then we don't know the speed. Right? So your local rotation could be upside down, but your speed could be left or right. But
Well, yeah, but you would use the forward vector or whatever for that rotation.
Oh, are you talking about just animating the ears based on how fast we're spinning? Because yeah, we could do that.
Oh no, I meant the direction that he's moving. So like, if you're traveling forward but your rotation is different, you'll still have the forward vector pointing in the proper orientation. So if you animate the ears to that vector,
I wonder. Yeah, I'd have to test it to see because it's hard to visualize for me. But his local up is always the same. It's this way. But his global up is this way. And if we were able to find the difference between those things, then we'd know which angle he's rotated at. It might be more complicated than you think, or I might be overthinking it. I'm not sure which.
I'm not sure you need the global at all. You just orient it based on him.
You maybe don't, but the question is like we're animating him upright all the time because in the animator he will be. But if he's like upside down and traveling left, would it look correct is the question. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to test it. That's whenever I don't know, I do a test rather than try to think it through. because it's usually much faster to do it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. This is cool. I like that it looks like he's shutting down entirely because he dimmed the color. So he's got like this darker red where it looks like he's off, and then it pops back up to yellow, like flickers on. That's really cool. Let's take a look at the animation up close. Oh, okay. Interesting. There's some missing stuff. So he might have in his own project put some other game objects in this object, such as the snapping special effects, right? But my project doesn't contain those things, so I can see that there's a missing game object here. Or this could have just been a mistake. So Andrew, if you're watching, what you would have to do is actually export the entire character, the ball enemy, as a prefab. So right down here, you'd have to right-click and export and all the dependencies. The only problem is that would conflict with mine, so everyone else's animations would suddenly have a glitch. But if that is what you did, then I'd be curious to see what it is. If you're capable of like just screen recording it or something, or actually exporting the package, the prefab would be good too. But it plays properly, so whatever that stuff was, it's not harming it. Let's take a look at fast. Cool. And, oh wait, hit. There we go. Yeah, I like the eyes are off and then blink back on kind of thing, and then they turn yellow. So you start here, you end there, and then one frame later, it'll pop to the idle first frame, so it pops to yellow. You might want to think about trying to end the hit animation in a more neutral position, I guess. Let me see if that actually causes a problem, because I know I saw the eyes flicker on, but now I'm thinking that maybe that's not a feature, like it's a bug, not a feature, but it still looks good. Let's see. No, actually it transitions nicely, so that didn't really matter. The animation transition is covering a little bit of that, so in here, when we go from neutral to ouch and back again, there are settings for when the thing transitions and how long it takes. Oh, come on. So it doesn't have an exit time, but we've got a transition duration from neutral to ouch in a quarter of a second. And when we come back again, we've got an exit time at the end of the clip of ouch. So that's what this means. And then a transition duration of 0.25 seconds. So there's a little bit of a transition from the very last frame of this one to the very first frame of this next one, or rather somewhere in the middle of play in this one. So it ends up working out properly. Those are the kinds of things we're going to have to tune in the next project, by the way. Not this week, but the following week, you guys will be constructing things in the animator. So you'll get to play with those settings, which actually have a lot of control over how nice the animation looks. When you cross the line between animator and technical artist or technical animator, that's when you start messing around with stuff like how is this chart constructed? How did the animations transition? Where is the exit time? What are the conditions for exiting and transitioning? Fine-tuning that stuff is more of a technical animator or technical artist kind of job. Okay, cool, very good. All right, that was everybody's that I had in the folder. Very good. Do you guys have any questions about this project or things that you wanted to bring up? All good?
Think so.
Very good. All right. I just uploaded and just published the next lecture because it was really big. It was taking a long time. But we are going to set up a 2D character in Unity, and we're going to do this over 2 weeks. Okay. So in this week, all you're doing is creating the sprite assets and setting them up in Unity to be rigged and animated. You're technically not even rigging them yet. Next week, you're going to fully set up the character, including bones, and then animate and apply them to the animator. Okay, so all of that's going to be next week. It's a lot of technical stuff, but all of the work that takes the most time is what we're doing this week, of actually illustrating everything and making it look right. So in Google Drive, we've got a folder full of Night in the Woods characters. Do I really have to download that to view it? Wow. It's just a picture. Okay, I'm a little afraid that these like won't view properly or something, but we've got her friends and some of the alternate background characters from Night in the Woods. I hope that. Okay, that's really weird. It's just an image. It shouldn't be anything weird. Make sure that you guys can download that stuff and let me know, because if not, then I've got to do something to it. But you can use these as reference. And I've also got this test May Unity package, which is the fully functional version of the main character from Night in the Woods, which I can demonstrate running around and jumping and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do real quick here, let's just shut that off, is I'm going to open up my Unity project just to show you what the character can do, what we can expect them to be able to do at the end of these 2 weeks. Do you guys all have Photoshop, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Even if you don't have Photoshop, any art program that's capable of doing vector drawing will be appropriate, or really even...
The one from the 2.5's able to?
Photoshop?
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be fine. Yeah, they all have vector tools. Or really any other art tool that has vector layers or just really clean drawing tools. All of that's going to be appropriate. The only reason I say so is because look at this character. It's nice clean lines and solid fills. That's all you got to be capable of doing in the art program. So I'll go ahead and hit play here. Just show that we've got our character with some leaves that you can whack up into the air by running into them. The character can jump and land and stand there, and that's it. That's all you're going to have to make the character do is stand still, move, jump, and land. Okay, that will entail. Let me show the. Where's my animator? There it is. That will entail making this. I forget what you call this. This graph, this animator graph, where we've got a movement tree that's reading horizontal motion. You can actually preview this stuff down here. It looks a little bit weird on 2D characters, but if I hit play, then I drag this red line, you can see what happens as the speed increases. I actually hooked up, because I thought it looked better, a faster playing version of the run halfway through the acceleration, and then she slows into a more loping run, like the real speed run. And I thought that looked pretty cool because the transition happens so fast. It's just a little burst of energy. But you don't have to do something like that. But it's kind of cool to see the preview. And then we've got a jump tree right here. And this is based on vertical velocity. So here, the character is landing. Here they're in midair. And then here they're jumping up. So not all of these play because some of these are just single poses. And you can actually get away with that because it transitions so nicely based on velocity. The reason, by the way, it looks so weird is because I'm using Unity bones to position the arms and legs, and so they don't look like they're doing the right thing, but they really are. And then over here, we've got just one for landing the character. So if I come back out to scene, you can see how the bones work to bend the limbs. And so we'll do all that bone setup stuff next week, but it's actually a pretty fun process just to make them smoothly animate like that. I want to show the jump up. Whoosh. You can even scale the character a little bit like that. Midair. See, just a pose and then landed. Like that. Actually, I missed one. This one. Falling down, which I probably should have done something for falling down, but in this instance it's not really necessary. So what's cool is what's going on here then is that it's blending between all those poses like this. The character controller, by the way, if you tap jump, it cancels, and if you hold it, it does the full jump. And so you can see the fully transitioning and animating version versus the aborted one, which actually both look pretty good, so lucky me. Cool. Any questions about that? You guys all good?
Not yet.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you using bones to move the eyes of the character?
The eyes, no. So what the eyes are doing are just turning on and off an extra object. So let's find it. Here's the skull. There's her nose. All right, so the eyes are just two circles, right? And they're behind the skull, but behind that I have this big yellow thing to block out the rear. So it's like this is a mask, like a Halloween mask. And in between that are these big circles. Oop, I grabbed the wrong one. Where'd they go? There they are. Are these big circles that I could move or scale. For the blinking, I think that's what you were talking about, right? The blinking?
Yeah.
For the blinking, I have these two objects with their sprite renderer turned off. And if I turn them on, there they are. So they're just lined up right over top of that stuff, off, on. Right? And so that's how that works. I also have these. These are sliding lids. They're turned on right now. That's why she looks like unamused. And I can move them and scale them, probably with this one. Let's do that instead. So I could make her blink any, amount of blink. There's two of them, so I could also rotate them and scale them to make her look like concerned or something. I don't think I ever actually ended up using it. I was just sort of messing around to see what was possible. You can see it breaks pretty easy, but there it goes. So I could make her drunk or uncertain or something like that. If I undo, I could also do the opposite down here, which is like excited. Probably need to squeeze them way down. And then maybe a little bit side to side as well. So that kind of like gleeful kind of thing. I never actually used them, and I don't think that you guys will need to set up anything like that either. But the blinking part, like the lids, that's a pretty good one. You could make the eyes move entirely based on substituting drawings as well, but I thought it was better to have a mask with these circles behind, because then you can very minutely track things. You could even set up logic, which has a little target that floats around her head that can lock onto someone and make it so that her eyes look in that direction interactively, so she could track things that move past her head if you really wanted to. Pretty cool, huh?
Very cool.
Yeah, and hopefully all those changes I made, I don't think they'll change anything when the character animates, because all of those things have keyframes, so the lids are turned off properly, the eyeballs are reset properly. The only thing I did with the eyes really is have them track up and down as she jumps. So when I hold that, she starts looking up and then down wherever she's traveling. And then the one blink during her idle. There we go. Yeah. Cool. All right, you guys. Yep. Anything else? Things that you need demonstrated, clarified, explained? You all seem to do really well with the animating the ball, so I expect that this one's probably going to go pretty smoothly as well.
How much are we going to be doing in Unity?
So you're going to illustrate the sheet, this sheet here, based on the reference that I have in Google Drive, and set it up so that it can be chopped up into sprites. You're going to import it into Unity, which is essentially just drag it into the asset folder, and then set up these import options up here. And then finally, the last part, which is going to take more time, is going into the sprite editor to slice these into individual sprites, set their pivot point, and name them. And then finally, you take those, let's close this, there we go. You take those into the environment here and drag them in to make sure that you can assemble and use them the way that you want to. We're not even doing that last part completely though yet, because we really need to use the bones for the primary limbs. But dragging them in here, comparing them to the May character, is probably a good idea. And the one part that I'm not totally explaining yet is that their sorting order is controlled over here. So if I want this eyeball to appear behind the head, we have to change these numbers. And I try to not to use negative numbers oftentimes, but you can.
Just to clarify, we're supposed to make our own, not choose.
you are supposed to choose one of these characters.
Ah.
Yeah. And they are all of a basically correct proportion and size, although I don't know why. Okay, for Google Drive wasn't letting me preview for some reason, but now it will. I just grabbed these off of a Google search. I don't even know if they're official or not, but they've got all the details of the character. This is the same one. He just didn't have any hands in this one, which I thought was
what
stupid.
are we supposed to do with them?
Google Drive. These are all available to you. They're in the assignment.
Yes, but what's the assignment? Is the assignment to cut them apart, or?
The assignment is explained in the lecture video and also
Okay.
in the actual assignment on Canvas. But essentially what you're going to do is, using this, illustrate one of these, bring it into Unity, set up the sprites, and then export a package which is just this one thing. Just that. Because the metadata on this, when you export it, will have all of the sprites still set up, so I can just look at it down here and drag it up into an empty file and check that everything works. But optionally, if you already know how to assemble the hierarchy and know how prefabs work, you can give me a prefab of your assembled character instead. That will save you some time next week, and also it will make it that I can just play with the character rig already. But keep in mind that their arms and legs probably won't work properly yet.
Okay.
Okay? Did I explain everything you were wondering about? And these characters, I chose them because they're nice and simple. They're really easy to understand how they work. They don't change dimension very much. They just kind of stay in this configuration and with very limited kind of arm and leg motion. This one, in fact, I think is interesting because her arms are in her pockets all the time. So animating it such that she's jumping around while her hands stay in the pocket would be kind of interesting. Yep. Cool. Any other questions, you guys? All good?
Oh
so.
yeah, I have a question. No, I have a question.
Yes.
So for the arms, are we bending the arm with bones, so do we have to make a separate drawing for that?
Yeah, that'll be next week. So all you have to do is make a straight limb. So in the example sheet, this one, actually let me just look at the sprite editor. In the example sheet, this one is a leg, and there's only one because we can recolor the leg to look like the front and back. And this one is the arm. This one down here was from the reference and is extra. I don't even need this in the character. It's not doing anything. But initially I had illustrated that and then realized, oh no, I need to make straight ones. So I made a straight arm and straight leg, and then we hooked them up with bones, which I can actually show you right here. You just won't be able to do this yet. So if I do the skinning editor, and then double click, and then pick, what do I want? Preview pose? No, I wanted to find the bones. Create bone, edit bone, edit bone. Where is it? Okay, well it was supposed to show up. Let's try this one. Okay, I don't know why it's not showing up, but they're in here. Did I do something wrong? This is something I ran into last time. Like if I did all the work in one go, it was perfect. And also out here it's working perfectly, but in the editor, I always have trouble finding the interactive bones the second time I open this. Split bone, edit geometry. What am I doing wrong here? I have no idea. Oh, you know what? I'm on the wrong one. Haha. This one is the example one I did for the video. This is the real one. All right, let's try that again. So now I'm going to go to skinning editor. You can see some things are rainbow colored now. Those are the only things with bones in them. So if I double click, there's the bones. Okay. And it's skinning much like how Maya does paint weight skinning, only it's a little bit more automatic. You kind of set its influence fall off, but it does have tools for painting the influence on if you want to. Okay, but we'll have a whole tutorial about that.
Okay.
All right. Cool. That was freaking me out. Like, what was wrong? But these just look the same. That's all. Okay. By the way, a package that has all of this stuff in it is available on Google Drive as well. You don't actually have to use it for your homework, but it will give you a playable version of the May character all set up for you to use. The only things that are different in this package from what I'm showing you are that the leaves are interactable in a different way. Right here, they have no substance. They just kind of fly away. In your version, because I can't save the layers, the leaves pile up, so you could actually stomp on them and they'll push you around, which is kind of inconvenient. And the bloom on the camera didn't stay. So you have a yellow background, but it's a lot dimmer. So don't freak out. Nothing's wrong. I just couldn't put that in a package. I'd have to give you the entire project. Okay?
All right.
But yeah, that's right here. So just pull that into an empty project and you can play around. All right, you guys. If there's nothing else, then that's going to be it for us today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.